this is a game that we had already covered here on the channel. I always thought that it had lots of potential, but you know, with Souls-likes, which this game is to some extent a Souls-like, it's always a gamble. So let me first break down what Mandragora is, or at least what makes it stand out or so special from the bunch, the promises from developers that have made with it, if they deliver or not. Naturally, this opinion is based on having played the demo, which is just 1 hour long, but I think that it is enough for us to savor and at least have a feel on how the game actually, pardon redundance, feels. So, first and foremost, there's 4 major things that drive the engine for this game. Ori and the Will of the Wisps, graphics, and similar art style. Narrative as profound as the Witcher games. Logically, Metroidvania genre, and finally, Souls-like combat system. So you would say that the Triforce, or the Holy Trinity in this game, is the Witcher narrative, the graphics from Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and the combat systems from Souls-like. There is nothing that this game shines on, rather it feels like a classic game that relies on many different genres or many different pipelines to be able to deliver something that's enjoyable, combining everything, not standing out on the single specific aspects, but being an amazing jack of all trades. Now the point where I would like to start, because that's the one that I think that I have more expertise because of the many years that I have been playing Souls-likes, is precisely on combat, and I would like to say that I'm positive about this one. Nailing a combat system similar to a Souls-like, it's very difficult because it requires lots and lots of precision. The overall skeleton, it's a dance of you learning enemy patterns and then using your invincibility frames to go through those patterns in a rhythmic scenario. If you add your blocks, the stamina management, the parry system that you usually have in those games, you have to be very tight and precise about the hitboxes because the slightest mistake could cost you the fight. And in a Souls-like, because of the challenge, it has to be your fault, not the game's. And that's why many games fail out that, because usually the hitboxes are not there, or the windows are just too tight, or just everything is not where it should be when it comes to your iframes and you're actually being hit while you are not being hit at that time, so it has to be precise. Now in that regard, I could tell you that yes, the patterns of the bosses and the enemies are very visible, and the iframes while dodging, well, I would even say that they are too lenient, even. And because of that, the game doesn't feel as challenging as a Souls-like. The parry frames are also very forgiving, although not much of a reward for parrying, and overall, it feels good. You do have to manage your stamina, block when you have to block, dodge and jump to avoid some certain specific attacks, use the verticality to your favor, and when you have to, so far, I could also see that you could do like spam rolling and actually working for people if they do so, because the iframes in here are way too long and way too forgiving. There's also a poise system, and I love that, because of the gear system being the same as Souls as well. The heavier your armor, the less effective your rolls, but the more poise you have, the more chance that you have to tank through hits, and that's true for enemies as well. If you time your attacks and you know what's the enemy's poise, resistance and stagger bar, you can definitely spam some enemies and stun them, to provided that you know the rhythm and whether are they going to retaliate due to poise, resistance or not. And you can also stagger enemies for big punishes, although there is not a flashy animation, they just get staggered and you get free hits in there. Now having all that in mind, it feels good to play the game. Having all of those systems combined together is what should make a good Souls-like. They're still not as precise as a regular Souls, as tight. You don't really have to have surgical precision on your parries or your dodges, on your timings, but I think that there's a little bit more lenience, like I said, on the iframes when that you are permitted through actions and to be able to bypass some things or not. And in that regard, I would say that being that way, even people who don't enjoy the genre, who don't enjoy challenging games, can come in here without any kind of issue. I fought the 3 bosses that you have available in the demo, and I didn't die to any of them, and they were fun, and they felt good. It felt good to fight them. I actually did feel that I was learning the patterns, that I was, whenever I was being hit by something, I immediately realized, so that's what he's doing, and then I could just use my invulnerability frames, my always very long iframes to be able to dodge them. There's also the character building aspect. You still have the same stats from Souls, like the endurance, vitality, vigor, strength, dexterity, and what have you, but you get them through a talent tree, so it dilutes the system a little bit more on deciding your progression. I'd say that that's also somewhat good and bad. Like, for example, it doesn't allow you that much freedom to allocate stat points, but also have in mind that the stat system that Souls games have, they are very difficult to understand for newcomers, and they are not properly explained. Also with weapon scaling, which is something that you also have available in here, so it guides you a little bit more, like I said, a little bit more of a simplified, diluted way than essentially you connect the main most important nodes that alter your game style, and by doing so you're getting free stats along the way. And I'll give you an example. So for example, there's a node for a berserker that heals you whenever you cause bleeding or where you kill things, and by going towards that route, you're still going to be getting the recommended stats that the game has for you as a minor node right there. A very interesting undying tank with lots of poise could be easy mode right here, and the combos for the build crafting because of that could be endless, because you can also mix and match classes, so that's very interesting as well. Now, the Metroidvania aspect in here, I'd say that exploration is even more important than a regular Metroidvania, and it's because it's not just collectible or usable items, expendable items that you can get out there. It's gear, it's armor, weapons, rings, like the always so desperately needed and favored by me. I always use this in every Souls game that I play, the stamina regen accessory. You could miss that kind of stuff if you're not exploring proper, so the verticality of a Metroidvania that a Metroidvania offers is by far more important than exploration in this kind of game, because you have to be looking for that equipment, for the gear, for the accessories and things like that. So that's the gameplay, and I think that they are headed in the right direction. I wish I could play more, because it really feels good to play. That's the main thing about everything. Now, the art style, when it comes to the graphics, I think that it speaks for itself. It does have that vibrant and colorful vibe that Ori has, that signature art style. But paradoxically, it's also very dark and gloomy, and the paintings in the background, the cathedrals, the cemeteries, I'm just enamored with the overall vibe that this game gives. In the distance you can see the painted dark forests and the ominous vistas that at the same time the particle system illuminates with the spells and light sources with different types of colors, like for example blue or that orange, that some kind of illumination sources give to some kind of ethereal ambience to the various torches, candles and light sources that you have in here. I do notice that the anti-aliasing, it's a bit blurry, and that the game doesn't have that many graphical options. There's no HDR in here, but that's just a demo, and things might change in the future. So that's like the second aspect of the Holy Trinity. Let's go about the final one, the story. Is the story any good? And there's only so much that we can see about the story being good in 1 hour demo. What we can talk about is the developers promising a good and polished story with moral dilemma and multiple endings based on your choices and side quests. Again, very Witchery-like. So in this game like that, that will directly give you the narrative story opposite the games like Blasphemous or Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, where you learn through exploration and contextual actions of you learning the specific things to piece them together. Overall, you are just an inquisitor chasing a witch in a world decayed by the entropy. And that's about how it starts. It's pretty basic, yeah? Well, there's the morality and different outcomes to things. I guess we are in here for a ride if they actually manage to deliver that. But there's not much that we can see. Overall, what we can see in here, to me, at the very least, it's very generic, but I wouldn't be able to be as bold as to give that statement, because this is just 1 hour demo. So what I can say also is that the voice acting is amazing. And this is a fully voice acted game. It's marvelous. There's some really good voice actors from, for example, World of Warcraft working in here, and you can tell because the accents and the overall how they give you the renditions of how they should be portraying that character, it feels good. But then again, there's not much that we can say about the story. This is a kickstarted game, and overall I like what I played, and I do feel that I want to play more. I cannot say that much about the story, and the graphical fidelity, it's that of Ori, and stability, it's just rock stable, because it's like what you're seeing in here, it's gorgeous, but it's gorgeous because of the art style, not because this is a technical marvel from this age. So yeah, that's what I can tell about this game, and I'm very excited about this. You should be very excited about this game because it really looks like we could be going on in something in here. Anyways, if you like the content, like, I never super appreciate it. And also, that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person, you're in the gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.